Aussie Rugby gets its free-to-air deal, but not really. News out yesterday that Rugby Australia have got themselves a new broadcast deal. That's good news because up until the end of the year, which is not that far away now, they were looking at 2021 with no broadcaster in sight. Remember, they did a kind of impromptu deal with Fox this year for like 10 million bucks or something to cover Super Rugby AU. And we're facing down the barrel of 2021 with no broadcaster, but that is sorted next 3 years. 9 on their Stan Sport streaming service. Stan Sport, I think, is going to be the new part to Stan. Stan streaming service is going to have the rugby. So that's good news. 100 million bucks a year over 3 years, so you can work that out. So like 33 odd million bucks a year. I mean, that's all right. All of this is still subject to Sanzar signing it off. But if it's that or nothing, I can't imagine Sanzar standing in the way of this. So, in all likelihood, Rugby in Australia is moving to Stan, which still seems like a weird name. I'd never heard of this. Excuse my ignorance. I assumed it stood for something like Streaming Australia Network. I think it's just Stan. Correct me if I'm wrong. Why not call it Bob or, I don't know. Why Stan? It's a weird one. It has to be to do with streaming, surely. It can't just be called Stan. But, yes, there's a home for rugby, which is the good news. What are the details? We'll have to talk about that. And you guys closer to the scene will certainly have to let me know what are the good things and the bad things about this. But I'm saying, the fact that there's a home, someone's going to pay Rugby Australia to have their product, that's good news. So Stan is the streaming service. From what I gather, they're like any other streaming service. They have movies, they have TV shows. They didn't really do sport, but they are going to set up Stan Sport to host the rugby. Of course, they're going to charge you more for that. So if you're already a Stan subscriber, you're going to have to pay more to get the rugby, which is a bit different from the current deal because currently it's on Foxtel, which is like, if you're in New Zealand, it's Sky Sport. If you're in the UK, it's Sky. If you're in South Africa, it's Super Sport. But also they did a streaming service called KO, which I believe is just sports, which is kind of perfect if you're a sports fan. Stan's got a lot more subscribers than KO, I think like 2 million compared to KO's 500,000. But I remember Stan's a much broader market because they've got movies and TV shows and all kinds of whatnot, whereas KO's just kind of sports. So, yeah, that will be an interesting one to see what kind of shift they can get people who are on KO to leave KO to sign up for Stan. Because if you're just a general sports fan and not specifically after rugby, that may not be enticing enough for you to make the switch. However, if you only had KO just to get rugby, then you're probably more likely to flog that one in and get Stan. Good part is, Stan is going to broadcast one game of Super Rugby free to air on their Channel 9. That's good news. Apparently in Australia, Super Rugby's never been free to air, and since having this channel, it's the one piece of feedback that Aussie rugby fans has said is killing the game over in Australia is the lack of free to air coverage. Is one game a week, and it's going to be Super Rugby AU at least in 2021. Is that enough? Probably not, but it's better than nothing, you'd have to say. Which team are they going to show? Will they show New South Wales games only? Queensland games? Will they show a mixture with the Force, the Rebels and the Brumbies over the smaller population centres? That's going to be one they have to work out. There are other sports networks around the world who offer like a free game of the week and they try to rotate it through the teams. I would hope they would do the same thing. But maybe they need to play to their customer base as well. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see how that one works out. It's not only Super Rugby. Oh, I should also say, I think they mentioned in the broadcast, they did a little news conference about it. I hope they're going to play the games live and prime time. Because if they do what they do over here with the Super Rugby games that go free to air, they play them delayed. So Sky Sports over here in New Zealand plays the live game behind the paywall, and then like a couple of hours after the game, they play it free to air. I would hate to see it if they just kind of buried it free to air only. That would kind of do it at just like 9:30 p.m. or something, you know what I mean? I hope it's not that. I hope it's always going to be live and kind of prime time. If the objective is to get eyeballs on the product, it needs to be like that. Anyway, so you're going to get Super Rugby AU as part of this Stan package. 1 game free to air, 1 game behind the paywall. It's 2 games a week. You're going to get Super Rugby Aotearoa behind the paywall. You're going to get Super W, which is the women's competition, behind the paywall. You're going to get the Rugby Championship. They did mention selected games will be free to air, but I would say for the most part behind the paywall. Any of the inbound tests, so like when France, England, Wales, all those Northern Hemisphere teams, when they come down to the likes of Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, South Africa, those will be on Stan Sports. Wallaroos tests will be on Stan. Mitre 10 Cup, Curry Cup, Shoot Shield, Hospital Cup, like all the domestic comps in Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. I'm not quite sure what the deal was with the Shoot Shield broadcast rights prior to Stan, but it's going behind a paywall. So whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, the fact that more people will be able to get it is maybe a good thing. But if it was free before, then that's probably not ideal. But you guys will have to let me know what's the deal with that. They have said they will broadcast, like I think 4 games of the Shoot Shield on 9 throughout the season, and I think they said some of the finals games. But yeah, we will see how that goes. But there's a fair bit of rugby in that package. If you're looking to make the switch over, like if you're on this channel, you're probably thinking about making the switch, but not necessarily, man. There are plenty of people who, you know, watch a bit of league, watch a bit of rugby. Like Gaza, my dad, he's the ultimate example, man. He'll just watch whatever sports is on. Cricket, rugby, not golf, not tennis, but like, yeah, cricket, rugby, league. I'm sure there's other sports he watches. Not really soccer. But yeah, if there's sports on, he'll probably watch it. So if their only product is the rugby, maybe that is a little bit disconcerting because, again, I'm not a huge fan of Sky Sports over here in New Zealand, but for the most part, they have all the sports. At least they used to. They've lost a few in recent years, but they've certainly got all the rugby. Whereas like Six Nations rights, Autumn Nations Cup, all that stuff will be on a different broadcaster over in Australia. But yeah, it's a long time since they've been with Fox, pretty much since rugby went pro. So it is going to be a massive shift. Will we look back at this in 3 years and say, man, they made a big mistake in leaving Fox? Remember, that November deal that was offered to them was $35 million a year, so slightly more money for kind of more of the same package. Will that in 3 years look like a better deal that they should have taken? Or will it look like this was, you know, a revolutionary deal that you know, gave a bit of a lifeline to Aussie rugby? We will see. But yeah, it's a change, and change is a bit scary, but it's better than having no broadcaster at all. The idea of free-to-air games is certainly appealing. Like I said, over here in New Zealand, it's kind of a mixed one where they don't show anything live, but at least, hopefully, they will be showing some rugby live over there. We will see. You guys let me know what you reckon if you're a fan of rugby union in Australia. Can you see yourself signing up to Stan? Or do you think you might just catch the free-to-air games? Going to be one to watch. But yeah, as I said, it's a change. I'm still going to say it again, man. It's better than no broadcaster at all. I'm cautiously optimistic that it's going to work out well. But you never know. Like Sky over here in New Zealand lost the Rugby World Cup rights and went to Spark Sport, and that didn't go that well. But anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts. Talk to you guys again soon. See you later.